There are moments that split a life in two. The person you were before, and the person you can never be again. For Louis XIV, the man the world would call the Sun King, that moment arrived on a night when the torches in Versailles burned lower than usual, and the palace whispered with a fear no one dared name. The king walked alone through the hall of mirrors, his footsteps echoing endlessly behind him. His reflection stretched across 100 glass panes, tall, regal, crowned in gold. But with every mirror he passed, something unnerving happened. His reflection lagged. Louis stopped. The reflection did not, for one heartbeat. He watched his own face staring back at him, smiling softly, a smile he was not making. Then, with a shiver, it snapped back into perfect sync. Louis exhaled, his breath trembling. It has begun. Again, weeks earlier, a letter had appeared in his chamber. No seal. No name. Only 5 words, written in shaking ink. The sun is dying. Louis burned it immediately. But the next night, a second letter appeared on his pillow. Though 6 guards watched his door. What rises with the dawn must fall in the dark. This time, Louis felt something he hated, fear. He summoned his most trusted advisor, Jean-Baptiste Lully, a composer and confidant. Someone plays a cruel trick, Lully said. Louis shook his head slowly. No, my friend. This is no man's trick. Days passed. And something in the palace changed. Mirrors seemed colder. Reflections slower. Servants whispered that the king looked. Followed, then came the night Louis called Lully to the hall of mirrors. The king stood before a mirror, pale, eyes hollow. What do you see? Louis demanded. Lully frowned. A king, no, Louis whispered. Look again, and Lully saw it. In one mirror, only one, the king's reflection blinked out of sync. Once for the king. Twice for the reflection. Lully stumbled backward. What sorcery, Louis whispered. It is the price of believing oneself chosen by God. The shadow grew bolder. Louis woke one night gasping, because a figure stood at the foot of his bed. Not a servant. Not a guard, a tall man. Cloaked. Face hidden. Who are you? Louis whispered. The figure's voice slid through the dark. The sun is setting. Louis lunged with a dagger, but the blade passed through the figure like mist. The man vanished, and on the king's pillow lay a third letter. You wear a crown that is not yours. He called priests, astrologers, sorcerers. None could explain the haunting. Until one old astrologer approached quietly. There is a legend, he whispered. A shadow self born the moment a ruler believes he shines brighter than other men. The more he believes himself divine, the stronger the shadow grows. Louis dismissed him, but that night, the king watched his reflection whisper 2 silent words. Let me in. Louis ordered every mirror covered,
every window shuttered, his chambers wrapped in darkness. But shadows do not need light to live. At a grand masquerade, Louis tried to pretend. Music thundered. Candles glowed. But the king felt heavy, like something leaned over his shoulder. Then he saw him. Across the ballroom, a man in a mask shaped exactly like Louis's face. Perfect. Identical. Except for the eyes, 2 cold, expressionless voids. Lully whispered, Majesty. Who is that? Louis whispered back, my other. The masked figure smiled, and began walking toward them. Louis fled the ballroom, heart racing, Lully at his side. They burst into the hall of mirrors, and in the glow of 1,000 candles, his reflections watched him, too still, too knowing. One reflection stepped forward. A foot, a leg, a body of glass and shadow. Louis stumbled back. The reflection smiled. A cruel, twisted version of his own smile. You call yourself the sun, it hissed, but you have forgotten the night. It lunged, slamming him against a mirror. Glass cracked like thunder. You take what is not yours, the shadow growled. Every light casts a shadow, Louis, and I am yours. Louis gasped, What do you want? The creature leaned close. To live. Lully held a torch. Flames exploded across the mirror. The shadow shrieked and crumbled into smoke. But as Louis fell to his knees, gasping, Every mirror in Versailles shattered. A roar shook the palace. The shadow stepped out fully, no longer a reflection, but a perfect copy of the king. Except the eyes were bottomless. "I will take your throne now," it said. Louis raised his chin. "You cannot." The shadow smiled cruelly. "You were chosen, so I could be born." They clashed in the moonlit courtyard. Steel against smoke, light against darkness. Louis fought with desperate fury, but the shadow grew stronger with every fear he felt. Lully shouted, "Majesty, a shadow dies only when you accept it." Louis understood. He lowered his sword. The shadow froze, trembling violently. "You win," Louis whispered. "I accept you. You are part of me." The shadow cracked like glass. "No," it hissed. "You were supposed to reject me." Louis stepped forward. But a king who does not face his darkness is no king at all. The shadow screamed, a sound that shattered every remaining window, and disintegrated into dust. Silence fell over Versailles. The next morning, Louis appeared before his court. Older, changed, human. "The Sun King is not a god," he said quietly. "He is a man, one who has met his darkness, and lived." No one ever spoke of the night again. But sometimes, late in the palace, when torches flicker and mirrors tremble, servants swear they see a second face behind their own. Not smiling, not blinking, just waiting for the sun to fall again.